summer, the Indian River School District scrambled to find a way to deal with an influx of children coming primarily from Central America. Delaware education reporter Avi Wolfman-Arent is here now with an update. Avi, how's the district handling the situation now?
Well, so far so good, Shirley. I found a thriving program for newcomers, happy kids, and some larger questions about how we are going to educate recent immigrants to Delaware. To understand what's happening here at the G.W. Carter Center in Frankfort, Delaware, you first have to go back to last winter.
About this time last year, just after the holiday break last year, we started seeing an influx in registrants to Sussex Central High School, students who were newcomers to the country, but not only were they newcomers to the country, they were unaccompanied youth.
Around the country, politicians and pundits fretted over this wave of minors from Central America, but in Indian River there was a different dilemma. They had about 90 new students to teach.
Once we had taken them into the schools, we realized that the programming that we had in place, the curriculum materials, the teaching strategies that we use for all of our ELL programs really were not sufficient for these students.
Many of the students were from Guatemala and grew up speaking indigenous languages. Almost none of them knew English. Many were still learning Spanish. Take 18-year-old Yolanda. She came to the U.S. 7 months ago and moved to Georgetown, Delaware to live with a sister.
I knew number 1 to 10 when I came, a couple random words. I know a lot more words now. I know sentences.
Yolanda's first language is Mom, a Mayan language. She was homeschooled until 11, at which point she got a job to pay for tuition at a technical school. Eventually, money ran out, and she moved north.
Right now that the home in Guatemala is not in good condition, so they're trying to get money together in order to send back to build their father a new home.
To help students like Yolanda, Indian River created the Appel program. Appel stands for Accelerating Pre-Literate English Language Learners. It's a voluntary remedial program with about 60 students. The idea is to fill knowledge gaps quickly so that within 12 to 18 months, these teenagers can rejoin the regular program for English language learners and eventually work toward a high school diploma.
These words are all called adjectives. They're words that describe people, places, or things. They describe nouns.
We dropped in on a recent Appel class. The morning's task was simple. Look up an English word in the dictionary and write that word's Spanish equivalent.
Excellent. Tell us the word.
This may seem like first-day material, but many of these students, because of their backgrounds, had to learn how to go to school before the academic learning could begin. Back in September, many would get up and leave class unannounced. One time, a student removed his shirt because he felt hot.
In the beginning, I think what we really focused on was basically survival skills within the school. How do I ask to use the bathroom? How do I ask to sharpen my pencil? How do I tell someone I don't understand?
Teacher Lori Ott says those lessons have stuck and the students are thriving. They come every day, they ask for extra homework, and they buzz around the lunchroom, chatting with the cafeteria workers. Ott and others attribute some of their success to an accident. Due to a population surge, Indian River couldn't house its Appel program at the local high school. Instead, they moved it to the G.W. Carter Center, an overflow building miles away.
They're not afraid to do anything because there's no one there to make fun of them. They're all in the same, same situation. And when you're with your American peers, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Oh, I'm going to have the wrong answer.
This type of separation also invites questions. Is it fair to segregate immigrant students? Does it slow their assimilation? Just last month, the U.S. Departments of Education and Justice released a historic set of federal guidelines about how to educate English language learners. As part of that document, they urged districts to integrate newcomers as much as possible. The guidelines read in part, the departments would rarely find a program-related justification for instructing EL and non-EL students separately in subjects like physical education, art, and music. Laureate says she agrees with the general principle of inclusion and has for her 20 years as an ELL teacher, but she also thinks this may be one of those rare cases where separation works.
This year has kind of opened my eyes being in this building in a separate facility. I think they've really felt comfortable in this building. They see this as their place.
Avi, coming out of your story, what's next for these students because they cannot be sequestered forever?
Right. I mean, eventually they're going to have to go back to the big high school, and there's a lot of concern among the staff and the students about making that transition, but it's also a necessary one. I talked to Patricia Grandua, who's a researcher at UCLA, and she says the only way for students like this to become proficient in English is to be with their American peers.
So by that logic, are we slowing down that process?
It's possible. By sequestering them in this way, it's possible. Grandua told me she'd prefer a program that was 3 to 6 months in length instead of a year plus like this one. But she also said there's not a lot of great research out there about students who are this far behind even other English language learners. And so she sympathizes with districts who are doing the best that they can.
Any chance we'll see other programs like this elsewhere in Delaware?
There's a chance. The state and nearby districts are monitoring it very closely, so you could see some copycats.
Okay, thank you so much, Avi. Check out this story and all of Avi's Delaware education reporting at newsworks.org/Delaware.